My name is Dustin Gluckert. I'm with EasyPay. I am a sales director with EasyPay, and Joe actually approached me this week here to do the testimonial call with Pal Wagner, his wife. So if Joe, if you're listening, Pal, obviously you're on here. I just want to say I am completely honored. I was really honored to be a part of this testimonial call. And so this call is all about spouses and our support groups, right? You guys, while we are out there grinding, trying to find the next deal, whatever that takes, traveling, there's there's a lot of ups and downs in this business. And honestly, at the end of the day, our job's a lot easier. The more I thought about this over the week when Joe asked me to do this call, our job is a lot easier than our spouses or our support groups, right? Their job's way harder. They have to, take the kids to soccer, pay the bills, hold it down at home. What I mean by holding it down is making sure you are able to go there out there and be successful. And we're going to talk to Pal more about that. But your job is completely harder than ours. So we want to give a huge shout out to all the spouses. I know that we have spouses here on the call right now. And this call's for you. And if you don't have a spouse on this call and you don't have a support system, this is for your future support system or spouse. So I just want to roll over here. I'm going to get Pal on. There she is. What is going on, Pal Wagner?
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. I hope it's a lot warmer in Miami over there than it is here. So,
As you were saying that, not to make you jealous, but we're 75 degrees over here,
yeah,
as you can
it's
see.
snowing down here.
Really
So,
nice weather.
so one thing I just want to let everyone know, like these are totally unscripted. Like there's no BS. I mean, I'm just going to be blunt because that's what I'm going to do. There's no BS with this. These answers are real. We are real people. And I just want to get right into this, Pal, because you guys have such an amazing story, right? You have an amazing story. Like I'm just, I'm shocked with, your whole business that you guys have built. It's amazing. And I just want to get down to this. So kind of when I just first opened up here and I talk about, you know, really holding it down and I look at it, back in my perspective, what that looks like in my business and, with my spouse. But on your perspective here, that's what we want to hear from. And people can relate this to their own life. What does holding it down, what does that look like? And I really want you to focus on, if you can, the beginning. I'm really starting at the beginning. What did that look like for you guys?
Um, so as well, I'm really honored to be here. As you guys all can know, I actually really don't enjoy to be on video. So
You're doing
it's
great.
a one thing at a time. Like Joe is all over videos and I ask him to not do it, but it's okay. So at the beginning, really beginning, when I first met Joe, we were wild and young, just to be kind of like recuperate really fast. I was 20 years old, he was 23. I was still living down in Mexico. We met down in Mexico in Puerto Vallarta. And since then, our story has been crazy because since then, nobody thought we could make it. Just talking about relationship wise, right? Like we were in two different countries, two different cultures, two different languages. But that's just who we are. We make it work, right? But since then, Joe was already in love and obsessed with the residual income idea. As many as you know, Joe is a free soul. You cannot cage Joe Wagner. It's impossible. Like if you cage him, he can lose his mind. Like that's just who he is. That's who I fell in love with. And that's just how things are and who he is. So fast forward, we actually met, we stay in contact. 2 years later, we decided we were actually going to make it work. Like we were actually ready to commit to each other. And as I was doing, still living in Mexico, I studying my college degree. So Joe was like, "Well, you graduate, I will come visit you every 4 to 6 months. You can come on your breaks." And like no, it was actually, anyways, every 2 months, whatever. We were in touch a lot. So by the time I graduated, I moved up to the United States. And I moved up to pregnant. We were already expecting our first baby. Things were not easy at first. The dream was big. The hunger was big, but things were not there yet. It was actually really hard because when I first moved up, I was already 6 months pregnant. I finished my college degree. We were engaged. We were ready to live together and stuff. But right after I moved up, I ended on bed rest. Literally a couple weeks after I moved up. So without being said, I was still not able to work. I didn't have any family. I didn't have any friends. I was new in a new country. And Joe had to go to work. Like that's just how things were. I was in the hospital at the beginning. They told me I was not going to leave. I was 28 weeks pregnant. I know this is too much information, but just so you can have a general idea how things were. I was 28 weeks pregnant. At the beginning, they told me I was not leaving that hospital bed until my baby was born, which meant another 20 weeks. In a new country, no family, no support system. We were by ourselves. As hard as it was, Joe was like, "Trust me, I'm going to make this happen." Thankfully, I was able to get released back home for a couple of weeks after a month. And then from there, Joe was married to the dream. And he's like, "I'm going to make this work." And he provided the whole way. Since the beginning.
Sorry, Pal. I don't want to interrupt you.
Was non-negotiable.
I didn't want to interrupt you. I just had some other some follow-up questions.
Yes, of course.
To what you were saying. So like that's amazing. So I just want to say like this business is really hard, and what you're sharing with us is definitely some really hard stuff. And from your perspective, could you like pinpoint one of those hardships, maybe explain on one from your perspective, if we could just grasp like one of them?
When we first started, I mean, we were like not only not have money, we were broke, like really, really broke. Like there was times in my life where like, what am I doing here? Like what like it's now it warms our hearts, because like when we look at the pictures, my first babies, like nursery, our tables were like the box where the stroller came. And I got creative and I put a little sheet over it to make it look cute.
So it's safe to say you were basically eating off of boxes and
my mom,
plastic forks
came from Mexico, and like Joe's mom, they gave us a crib and they bought us pots and pans, which we like really basic stuff. We had a table, like a 4-people table where to eat. We had a small apartment in LA and we had one car. So honestly, like it was amazing how things work out later, because like I was there on the apartment, like not able to, like literally my instructions were you can only get up to go shower, go to restroom and eat, and you have to be there. And Joe was gone all day. Like back then we were living in LA, and Joe was get up in the morning, hit door to door, every door. And he always told me, like, don't worry, I'm going to make this happen. I promise you we will be out of this one. And there was never a day where I can tell you he did not kept his promise.
That's
He
awesome.
didn't happen.
So kind of what I get out of kind of some of those early trials, like obviously you had some, some low points. And did you kind of question the outcome at first? Like how did you kind of go about navigating that? Like, did you question what residual income was or the outcome?
I always knew what residual income was. For me. It's really funny because for me, the grasping the idea was actually not easy. We can talk about many funny stories, like when, like super silly things like, yo, I want this. And he's like, that's a liability. I'm not buying liabilities until we get the asset and stuff like that. So there was a point where like, I was like, I want to understand the language you're talking to me. And that was like, give me that freaking like poor rich dad poor dad book so
Yeah.
we can start like talking the same language. And honestly, it was a big eye opener for me. But to answer your question, no, Dustin, I never doubted. And the reason why I never doubt him is because I learned, and this comes kind of from my mom supporting my dad and stuff like that, but like even on us as a situation, it's not on me to put my fears and my doubts on my husband.
Yeah.
Even when I personally probably had them, and there was times where I was like, is this really going to happen? Are we really? That's my fear. That was not his.
Yeah.
So our relationship has always worked on bringing each other up, never bring each other down.
That
I could
that is
drag him down. Of course, there were hard times. Of course, there was times where I got him out of his zone, where like
yeah.
I would cry and say
Yeah.
I'm lonely and like this. Of course, but overall, we really always focus on the big picture. Like, how is this going to look like when we make it happen?
Yeah,
And
and that kind of leads me into my next question too. Sorry to jump in here. I just had this question come up on my next question here for you. Like, I know residual income was kind of a new concept maybe to you. Like, did you have a vision? Um, did you have the vision already there? How did that look like? Was the vision there, or did that build over time? How did that look?
it's really funny because like even when we were starting we didn't have much, we didn't have anything. Like of course the things from the family especially will start coming, right? Like, you guys are so young, like he needs to go to work, he needs a job, and this and that, like where, how is this going to look like, what are you guys doing? And we really grasp on the idea of they don't get it, like my mom would say something or Joe's mom would say something, and we always hang to the idea of like, this is going to work. And once we, like, I remember telling my mom like, what you like to do? And I'm like, we like to travel. I was like,
Yeah.
that sounds too nice, but that's not realistic.
Yeah.
And Joe was like, what does she mean? This is not realistic. Like, that's what we're going to do. And
Yeah.
and that, like, based on the things that we love, we actually, it was just, I don't know how to even put into words. We just grabbed into the dream, and we didn't have plan B. It just had to happen, like whatever it took. Like once again, Joe used to be gone all the time, Dustin. Like at the beginning,
So
the first couple years,
just
he used
just
to
so I
all the time. But
just so I can jump
uh-huh,
in here, Kyle. So just so people know, like, he was traveling for work, gone all the time. He
yes.
that was his model, guys.
Yes,
So
for the first 2 years while we were together, he used to be gone Monday to Friday night, I would say. So he will come home. No, he will come home, be with us for the weekend, and then he had to leave Monday morning again. So what we did as a couple and as a family, and this is another thing, we had really established which our roles were going to be in our
uh-huh.
relationship in order for this to make it work. I am extremely thankful and for always grateful that he gave me the opportunity to be with my babies and raise my babies literally 100% of the time. Um, but even as hard as it was for me, because I was lonely, it was hard on him too. He missed his first
Yeah.
son's first steps. He missed his, like, my daughter's first birthday. You know, there was a lot of sacrifices that had to be done in order for us to get where we wanted to be. But we always focused on, let's focus on the quality time instead of the quantity time. So when
Right.
we were together, we really had like a squeeze all the time and we had a great time together. And when it was time for him to go, we just it was just like, don't worry, I get this. You just go and make it happen. And he always made sure that that time that we were apart was worth it.
And you were, I mean, that kind of really kind of jotting a couple of these things down. So that really goes back to kind of the, when I opened up here on really, holding it down. And, Joe was able to travel, and that was his model, and it really was successful for him, you guys. But you, I mean, which is, as far as I'm concerned, and most everyone else on this call, is a harder job. Like you held down the house. You were holding it down here for the family. And I know you got 3 kids now, and you're still doing that. Like, how does that look? I'm just gonna throw this one out there. How does that look like today? You know,
it, Listen, on top of
kind of that.
everything, like with the hustle that he was like going, like he did at the beginning, it felt like eternal. Of course, like when we're going through this like gaps, like, oh, how long it's going to take. And as you know, like the line to success was never straight. Like he built a couple portfolios and like switch and twitch a couple little things to find what really was going to work for us. um but I so to how does that look now? I just
Yeah,
I just couldn't see our life being anywhere different. And like, once once again, as far as me goes, like, we have 3 kids and we're really blessed with a beautiful family, but my 3 pregnancies were hard. So again, when I ended on bed rest with my second baby, thanks God, into residual income, Joe was able to come home and tell me, don't worry, I take care of the one that is home, which was Joey. I make
yeah,
sure this happens, and he was never stressed economically or financially, because he knew it was going
yeah.
to keep going and he could be that at that moment where I needed to be at the hospital. And
So
let's not even talk about the third one, because when the third one came and I was again on bed rest, uh, it was COVID. So when the whole thing started, my mom was supposed to come from Mexico to help us out, um, with the other two, but they closed borders. Like, not even they closed borders. Nobody wanted to come into our house, no babysitters, no neighbors, because it was so early on. It was April
right,
2020 that thankfully Joe was able to say again, don't worry, you do what you have to do. I have the 2 kids, and everything
yeah,
was always covered for us whenever this I'm telling you, when this happened was 2 3
yeah.
months he was out of work, like, literally. And not for a millisecond he was stressed financially, or we were stressed, because what he had built already
Yeah.
was providing us that security that we can take care of our
It
family.
it comes in every month. It's amazing. That actually really, that's perfect. That leads me into my next question. So for me, pal, there was a time when I knew, there's an exact moment that I knew that this was 100% real. And I, like, what was that time for you when you knew that maybe it's, a certain point, but for me, it's an exact time. But when did you know that this was totally real, and that this is the direction you're going? Like, when did you know? What event was that?
Our wedding. So
Okay.
uh, we got married at the courthouse, here in the United States, but our dream was always to have our big Mexican wedding. So it took us like Joey was almost 2 years when this happened. But right before it was time to start planning our wedding, Joe was like, I'm going on a road trip again. Like, I think it was a 10-day road trip or whatever. I cannot even remember. Back then we were living in Dallas and he was traveling like the Kansas and all those areas. So he went on this trip. And when he came back, it was close to my birthday. And with an envelope, he arrived and say, here, go plan your
Wow.
go ahead and go plan your dream wedding.
And you were able to do that.
And we were able to have our dream wedding. Like literally, it was magical. That night still till this day, the best night of our lives. And he made it happen in 10 days.
I I got to give it that's an amazing story. I do got to give a shout out to Joe and for sales partners that are on here. He did like 40 deals in 2 weeks, you guys.
It was insane.
He
Yeah. He
yeah
was on fire. He
yeah
literally was calling me like, I got another one. I got another one. I got another one. And he was not stopping. I don't know if it's 40 or 42, but that's his like his
okay
record.
yeah
Like
I might be
with,
correct.
yes.
Okay. Yeah, that kind of leads me into another question too for you. Like when Joe's out there in the field like throughout the day, like he's calling you and you guys are getting excited together, right? Like when he's getting deals. Like can you kind of explain like how
Especially,
that kind of
of
works?
course, right now it's still magical. He doesn't get to go out as much anymore, but like especially at the beginning,
Yeah.
when we didn't used to have much, we used to set goals as a couple. Like, okay, Pao, if I hit 10, 15 deals this week, we're going to go and eat an X restaurant. Like when
Yeah.
we do like 20 or that's the amount of deals, we're going to get to like we actually prize or like give ourselves something in exchange of the hard work he was doing.
It's really good.
uh and our the idea was always to get fill the pipeline, make sure that
Yeah.
pipeline is never empty, because even sometimes where you don't get to see the money like right away, as long as there was deals on the pipeline that had to be activated or had to be paid, we knew that was just a matter to keep
Yeah.
growing and growing and growing. And back then, I don't know if you remember, of course there was like because it was not when once cash discount started, things were awesome and much easier. Back then we used to have chargebacks, and we used to have like some other things because it used to be a little bit harder how it was going to be built. But we never doubted. We never once you know the vehicle and what it can provide, I can say merchant services is just really a really loyal business for us
Yeah.
and for our family. It's
And for all of our folks on there, just to clarify this, when Pow and Joe were building their residual empire, they were doing this on interchange plus pricing. So they weren't on cash discount, and our profits are 4 to 5 times what interchange plus pricing is for us to get paid on residual. So it's an amazing story to do that, the way that you guys did that. So just kind of moving on here, and kind of what you know now, right? With residual income, I want to ask you kind of a real financial question. And what you know now, you've read some books and stuff that Joe and you've read together. Would you rather have $1 million, pal, or would you rather have 25K in lifetime residuals forever? What would you choose,
you know
and
what,
why?
this is
And
really
why?
funny because I actually changed over time, like not over time, but like at the beginning. I don't know, he didn't say everything was muted, but like Joe has been offered really good jobs. Like companies had come to him and it's actually offered him big chunks of amount of monthly salary. He has said, there's no way. Like, I no, like, it's funny because now the people that like, they just know that it's like, no. At the beginning, it's like, what are you like? And he's like, you know, like imagine me like in an office where I have to report myself every single day, even when I don't feel like it, or like to wait for X amount of time to have a vacation. Like, it's just not happening. So at the beginning, of course, when we were like, at this day, absolutely, there's no amount of money that can buy you freedom other than residual income. And when I talk about freedom, I'm just not talking about financial freedom. I'm talking about the way and the time to have to live, like to really go and do things when others can't, or when like you just don't have to ask for permission. Like as a family, like we go to all these amusement parks and all these things when everybody's at school and when everybody's at work, so we don't have to wait on lines. We get to travel when it's not like peak season, and $1 million, if you don't know what to do with them or how to spend them wisely, they will go like that. Like they don't regenerate. But if you
Right.
know every single month you can do and get your residual income, things actually do get a little bit more relaxed. Even when some months you lose on an investment or whatever, like it doesn't matter because next month it comes back.
Right. So you guys have done, I mean, you've gone through some amazing hardships and come out on top and been such a great example for people like myself and other folks that are out there, building their own residual empire and on the same journey. And it kind of brings me to this other journey, pal. You didn't know that I was going to ask you this, but I wanted to ask you because it's the first time I've been able to ask you. So you actually had a journey last, I believe it was March, and you went to Colorado and you hiked a 14,000-foot peak. And I am someone that mountain climbs. And for people that don't know what 14,000, and this is just the blessings of residual income, right? But for people that don't understand what 14,000 feet is, it's really, really high. I just want you to kind of share your story, like you know, how awesome is that to have residual income that, you're making money literally while you're hiking.
So that experience was actually, I think it's better like when you don't know what you don't know, right? Joe was told me like we're going to hike this mountain, get on your stepper at the gym, like we're
Yeah.
just going to get it done. Like uh so you I actually can relate a lot to that mountain, which I actually cannot wait to do it again, to just life. You start, and as you start going to the peak, there's a point where your body wants to quit. There's a point where like your legs are hurting, your muscles are cramping. The weather was extremely extreme, like on top of everything, just to, but that's where the mind comes into play. That's when
Yep.
like Joe kept telling me and we kept saying to each other like, right now it's hard, but just imagine how it will feel like once you make it.
Yeah.
All you have to do is put one foot in front of the other one. Doesn't have to be fast. You're not jogging, you're not running to it. Just keep moving. And as long as we kept going that, we will get our sips, and there you look at the peak and sometimes it's like, oh my goodness, like I actually cried. Like if you watch that video, I was actually
I did.
crying. Like it was really painful. There was a point like, yo, this is just really hard. But once you get there, it was like, oh my goodness, how many people first of all get to do this? And just the feeling of knowing that I have conquered that mountain, it's almost like immediately you forget about the pain, you forget about the struggle. It's like I made it.
I made
And
it.
I think just that, like that mountain, like it's just success. There's not a straight line to just success. success is not easy. Yeah, if I tell you, yeah, everything was beautiful and there was flowers and I never cried, that would be just flat out lying. It has been hard, and as a family, as a couple, but it comes back to what Joe tells everybody and like us all the time. We have no plan B. This has to work. There's no other way. Like, and it comes to relationship, it comes to business, it comes to everything we do in our life. It is really true, and we live to that. Like right now it's hard. Okay, how are we going to make it to get out of this? Right now it hurts. What are we going to make to get out of this? And just keep looking forward. And when you feed we feed each other on that, we you really know you can accomplish everything, especially and of course Joe is really positive, but there's times where he will be down or he will be like doubting and struggling, and that's when I have to come in. Like, let's say this is not exactly like this, but like when one of us cannot believe uh, on it, like on self, that's when your partner has to come and remind you, like, you don't believe in yourself right now, but I believe in you, and it's time to get get up and keep going.
Yeah,
Like, we cannot
that's gonna
restructure
make
and go. Like, that's enough. Yeah, you have your times to be down, but you cannot stay there. Let's
yeah.
keep going.
I love that story more than I love hiking, and it's so crazy how business is literally in line with that, and
And
how
as far
this
as that mountain,
business.
let me tell you another really funny story. So
Okay.
we are Floridians, because I consider myself now a Floridian. We are Floridians. We we didn't have much time because my mom was here watching the kids, so we have 4 days. So we land, and with like, I think it was 3 p.m. Denver time, and by 7 a.m. we were already trying to conquer Quadri the first time. First of all, like the first day was horrible because there was a snowstorm and like our footprints were getting erased, and that was not going to happen. So I was like, oh, okay, Joe, I'm sorry. Maybe we can try next year. Like this. But the next day, Joe wakes up and opens a window, and he's like, pal, the sky is clear. We gotta do this. And I'm like, no, no, no. Yesterday we agreed, like, we are not doing this. Anyway, like, we didn't come this far to not do it. So within less than 48 hours that we had arrived to Denver, these two Floridians are going to do a 14er. And what is really funny is that while we were on the trail, we met this guy from Washington, I think, that he has done altitude training, altitude preparation, eating whatever he had to do, studying, just being like, and we had to kind of babysit him nursery because he got altitude sick and he could not understand how we were just perfectly fine. Like, we just stay hydrated and we just kept going. Like, how are you guys coming from sea level to here and not feel it? And that just tells you that too, like the power of your mindset, and when you just don't focus on the negative and you just focus on your goal. Like,
Yeah, when you put your mind to something, most people say like 3 days to acclimate, but when you put your mind to something, it's amazing what your mind will allow you to do. And just kind of leading me to my next question here, pal. Like, this is residual income is, and I had my testimonial last week. Like, residual income is so life changing. It's so life impacting. Like, I cannot describe, like, I was having a hard time, describing like the feelings that I felt like. But I want to ask you the same question I had. Like, what has residual income done? How has it changed your life?
um it just has give us the freedom to not have to bend to anything or anyone, to just do what we want to do, to stay loyal to our morals and our feelings when times have come to be hard, because we just don't have to make anyone happy. Like, we just have to make ourselves happy. um in times of health, in times of like struggle or whatever, like if I don't know, like whenever, even when Joe dad's like Joe dad was in the hospital, like he was um like really critical condition. I remember he's like, I gotta go to Spokane, and like he went and he was able to stay with his dad till the second he took his last breath. His brothers were not able to stay in the room with them because they had to go back to work, because I mean, you cannot give a time frame on how long this can take, right? You just know he's sick, he's not looking good. And Joe was like, I'm going to be here until this ends. And I think for him specifically, like that story where like he was able to be there and to be
Mhm.
holding his dad's hand when he was ready to pass. I mean, what kind of price tag you can put to those kind of moments where he just was able to do it and everything was going to be okay. And stories
Yeah.
like that I can tell you hundreds, where like it's it's just you own your life. You're just not giving anyone. You literally, whatever you do to your life and what you do with it is completely 100% on your hands and your control. Where like uh, I just cannot actually see it being anywhere or anything else or anything different than that.
Yeah, that's awesome, pal. Those are really amazing stories. I've heard a few of those, but people that are just jumping on, like, this is the impact. People that are on, this is the impact of residual income. It's life changing. I can't even tell you guys how much it just changes your life and allows you to do the freedoms. And that's leading me into my next thing. And you did actually say it, owning your life. When Joe's home and everything, like, what is owning your life? Like we always say, time, freedom, money, health, right? Like what does that look like for you? This is going to be one of coming kind of wrapping up here to the last couple questions here. What does that look like to you?
For us, it looks like to be able to be present in our kid's life every day nowadays. Like he had to sacrifice a lot of time at the beginning, which he doesn't have to do it anymore, especially because right here in Florida, it's only the five of us. We only have the five of us, literally.
Right.
So to be there for each other and like just to not have to worry right now. Our motto this year is like kind of get to be the healthiest we can be this year, and like to
Love
not
that.
to be able to just invest in yourself, invest in better food, invest in a lot of things. um because you know what, Justin, we can talk about residual income, and there's a lot of vehicles. I'm not going to say like there's a lot of vehicles, but like when I see well this has done for us, and then I see Joe passion, specifically Joe, into what he does. Like there has been times where like me as a wife, I'm like, dude, like why, like what is it that he's so obsessed? Because that to want to help people change their lives. I almost feel this like, and this will sound really cheesy because it's coming from me, but I swear it's not because I pay the price tag sometimes of that. He he really has a call to try to make people's life better, to try to get what he has. Joe's a giver. He wants to share with others what he has achieved, but not only share it for bragging. He wants that for others. He wants others to live it. Like like there's times where like I see him creating content like nights and nights, and like Joe, like what, like what is it? Nobody, and when we did it, Dustin, nobody paying like the street and the way so easily. We had to figure it out, and he's
Yeah.
really trying to give the tools for people so they don't have to struggle how we struggle. I don't know if that makes any
No,
sense.
I love that about you guys, and
and
you give
and
you give us a
I
great platform to build our businesses. And the struggles that you went through to pave the way, to
And
literally
I
pave the
really
way.
think for him, on top of everything, of course, and in our life, and being able for him be able to provide that for others, it's almost like his life calling. Like
It
he
is.
actually really wants that to give that to others, and to it's just and one time I remember like, Joe, but why don't we do different? Is it like, and he was like, what's the point of helping someone that doesn't need help? What's the point of doing this for something that doesn't need it, get it done? It's just really awesome how you can impact others too, as you
Yep.
can do it. Like we can sit here and talk about many stories. When my sister-in-law died of cancer, he was there for his brother. When my grandfather, like, I mean, no grandfather, sorry, when his dad died, he was there. When I was in the hospital, he was there. It's just there, like the time,
Yep.
you just cannot put a price tag on being able to just do all these things and live to your fullest.
Yeah, you guys have an amazing story, and it's so impactful. I hope everyone's getting so much out of this, and all the spouses that are on here. This actually really, Brent, this leaves me with my last question here, Pau, to you. Like, there's a lot of spouses on here, and what advice would you give to a spouse, that's currently, with someone that's in this business? What advice would you give to them?
um
What piece
like
of
I
advice
said
would
at the
you?
beginning, and I think that's the first one I will say, is like, our fears and our concerns are not your guys' fears and your concerns. I think us providing that support, like for you to make it happen, as long as the time is utilized and you actually go and try to make it happen, like that's the biggest thing we can provide. And that really be like, I think playing roles is so
Mhm.
important. Like really defining in a relationship, like, okay, you're going to get to this, and my job is to get X, Y, A, Z done in our relationship, in our household. Um, so like, and whenever some like my Joe, like I said, when someone is down, our job is not to bring it even, like bring it up, because we all want the dream, we all want and see the big picture, but nobody ever said it was going to come easy. Like there will be peaks and valleys, and there will be ways where we have to figure it out. But as long as we know, like, whatever it takes to make it happen, and let's make the best out of this, it really doesn't even take that long if you're truly committed. It's just like, I won't say it happens overnight, just like working out. You won't do an ab and tomorrow you have a six pack. But when you do these little things, the compound effect, where you do it over and over and over and again, some accounts will be big, some accounts will be small, it doesn't matter, you will get there. It's
Yeah.
just, and of course, communication and trust, especially when involves like you guys traveling. I think just to be in touch, like always be like staying with respect, really basic things that I think any relationship should have, regardless of what the situation is. Just
Yeah.
magic truly can happen.
That's great advice for everyone. So, Pal, I was honored, absolutely honored to do your testimonial. Thank you so much. I'm going to move you over here. We learned so much. I'm going to stop your video. Alrighty. We learned so much. I mean, I had jotted down notes that whole time. You guys, I hope you did too. um, like, I just kind of want to wrap this up with, this. There's a lot of ups and downs
Mhm.
in this business, and having our support group and having our spouses, be there for us when things are hard. And Pal expressed, there were hard times. They were eating on paper plates and had boxes in their living room for furniture. Like, they've overcome this. They've built an amazing residual empire, and it's just a blessing to be, as for me, And I know a lot of other folks on here. It's just a blessing to be able to work with Joe and Pal. We have an amazing opportunity here, but this is a call for all you spouses. Like, this is what it takes, and I'm just gonna end it with this. You guys, we will see you guys at the top, and have a good night.